It's not a good week for Ubisoft, but to be fair, it's not been a good year for Ubisoft. So what we've just learned is that Ubisoft is probably having more of a, let's just say, horrible week, as one of their former bosses has just been called in by a French trial to basically represent himself against accusations of sexual assault. But that's not even the thing that we're here to talk about. It's more so that there actually is an active protest on the actual properties of Ubisoft by shareholders because of a relationship with Microsoft and other major publishers to try and talk about the purchasing of the Ubisoft franchises. It's actually kind of insane, the actual road this has been leading down upon, but the fact that we now have shareholders coming out to protest against the mismanagement of the company, it's wild when you think about it, because when you look at Ubisoft, its biggest sort of actual properties like Assassin's Creed or Rayman or Tom Clancy stuff, it's essentially its lifeblood, and now those things are potentially up for grabs, or at least are being suggested are up for grabs from other major publishers like Microsoft, who are already kind of becoming a monolith of third-party development, considering they are just hoovering up other development studios and publishers to make their Game Pass even more appetizing, and also to basically give them a fighting chance against PlayStation. This is not even the first time we've talked about, or it has been talked about, regarding Ubisoft and their actual business being maybe up for grabs. There's been over the last year talks of Tencent potentially taking over, but that has, from what I've been reading, been actually more or less kind of less and less interest on the Tencent side, coming down to the fact that there was absolutely horrible performance of the Star Wars Outlaws game, as well as other things like the actual net worth of the company at one point dropping to its lowest last year. To me, this is just representative of what Ubisoft has kind of dug for themselves as a grave. While I enjoy some of the properties such as, you know, the Assassin's Creed franchises and Rayman, and even to some extent some of the actual like Tom Clancy games like The Division are great games, I really like them, but the biggest problem is that Ubisoft has got into this like habit of just developing to a really sort of strict but also kind of bland formula. When you look at things like Assassin's Creed or Far Cry or even some of the Ghost Recon games, they went into this open world sphere of this monotonous sort of loop of get to the tower, expand your field of view, collect the things, do the side stuff, and then maybe if you have got your character maybe 10 times more powerful than the actual game requires your character to be to even do the things it wants you to do, go complete the story. And while one could argue there's a lot of bang for your buck there in regards to like what you pay for the actual game itself versus the amount of time you could spend on the game, it's not necessarily always great to have ADR experiences when it's open worlds that don't really feel lived in, or open worlds that feel just like a task rather than an adventure. And I think that is what the problem is with Ubisoft's design at the minute, is that games that they develop don't feel like adventures anymore. They feel like a checklist of arbitrary things we need to go through in order to achieve an objective. And along the way, we might get some interesting characters or really cool moments, but by and large, it's the same formula over and over again, except for slapping it first person for Far Cry, third person for Assassin's Creed, different setting because we've suddenly jumped the actual setting of Assassin's Creed by 200 years, or different setting in Wildlands when it comes to Tom Clancy, because fuck it, we might as well go into the Congo now. It's stuff like that there that just, even if you change it up, you're still kind of not really doing anything to change what has now become the Ubisoft formula. And don't get me wrong, games are formulaic, but it's always been the design of the game mechanics to kind of keep those concepts fresh and interesting. And if you're doing an open world, sometimes developers, especially Ubisoft here, forget that the open world itself is a character. The actual place that you go through and explore has to be unique in itself and have its own presence and its own feel. And it's not been that for a while for Ubisoft. And now I feel like that is coming back to bite them, to the point where they're now having to talk to Microsoft to go, hey, do you want our company? Do you want what we have? We've got these great assets. Please dig us out of this awful hole. We have screwed up so badly. And this is now coming across from us as we find out there's actually protests happening literally outside their Paris headquarters because they're being accused of trying to sell off their properties to EA, Microsoft, and other major publishers because they basically dug themselves into a horrible hole through mismanagement and frankly lackluster innovation in their game design. It's kind of sad because I am really looking forward to potentially playing for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and we will be playing it on the stream and stuff as we go on, but it is starting to become a bit of a worrying case where it's looking like we might start to see the fall of Ubisoft in the next year or two, especially as they try and push more of their properties outside of the purview of their own control. Let me know what you think about this. Obviously, this is kind of one of those ones where this has taken me by surprise in the sense that, like, I was expecting a Tencent buyout, but it looks like that might not be the case. Do you think Ubisoft actually has the ability to maybe turn this around with Assassin's Creed coming out this month? Or is this the last death rattle of once was a major third-party publisher? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed the content, of course, hit the like button. That way you tell the algorithm that what I've done is right and cool, and it helps hit the channel a bunch. And on top of that there, if you want to see more, you hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on the videos as they go up. On top of that there, if you like, we do go live out here on the channel. So by subscribing, you'll also see when we go live, when we're doing our playthroughs. But if that's not your thing, you prefer the purple platform, well, you can check out the link in the description down below. It's twitch.tv/HPVG. Folks, I'm going to love you. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to look out for more of this news, but I'll be back and see you on the next video, or maybe the next live stream. Have a good one. Peace.